Alien abductions, murderous butchers, trapped in the house, and dogs frothing at the mouth. That's what lies ahead on this week's Low Budget Binge. Welcome back to ML Miller Frights, a part of the Kings of Horror Network. I'm ML Miller. While you might be watching this video on the Kings of Horror Network, I urge you to click over to my ML Miller Frights YouTube page and give it a like. Please share with all of your buddies. Click subscribe to this channel, and don't forget to ring that bell for notifications. Low Budget Binge is where we venture down the paths less traveled and look at low budget, no budget, do-it-yourselves, and sometimes international films that never get that top billing you see in the usual Hollywood releases. I'll indicate in the review and down below where you can find these films, along with their trailers. Here we go. Embryo, aka EMBRION, is new on-demand and digital download from Uncork'd Entertainment. It's directed by Patricio Valladares and written by Keating and Patricio Valladares. A specific mountain region in South America is known for all kinds of paranormal and UFO activity. Embryo attempts to interweave three stories together involving these supernatural phenomena. It looks as if Embryo was supposed to be a TV series rather than a movie, so if you remember the Twin Peaks TV movie which truncates the entire first season into one 90-minute flick, you'll understand the disjointed and oddly paced way Embryo plays out. The narrative flips and flops between the three stories, all of them pretty similar, each involving a couple who ventured into the cursed region only to find the female abducted, impregnated, murdered, driven insane, or all four. The main thread follows a very species-like narrative as a female hiker becomes pregnant after disappearing in the night and then develops an insatiable hunger for human flesh. The problem is that all of these stories don't really give anyone a chance to develop as a character. Almost immediately after the opening credits, our main couple encounter the UFO. There really isn't any chance to invest in these characters or even less time to get involved in the tension. Instead, the film is edited as if it has to touch base with the other stories without any care as to how it affects the flow of the story or the audience's investment. Director Patricio Valladares was the madman behind the truly harrowing feral child flick Hidden in the Woods from 2012. It was later remade by Michael Bain in the US under the same name. So the director has a ton of talent. The problem is that I think the director believed he was making a TV series, and this material just didn't translate to feature length. It's a shame. I'm curious what the director would have done with the material had it been a series. Somewhere there might be an edit of Embryo that works. Not that I'm going to race to Twitter to demand it. #release the Embryo cut. There's some decent gore that looks like goppy spaghetti, and the gals are nice and fit, so that's cool. Unfortunately, Embryo just doesn't work in the format it's in right now due to some extremely harsh edits and the wrong format. Next up is Held. It's new in select theaters and on demand from Magnet. It's directed by Cluff and Chris Lofing and written by Jill Awbrey. A longtime married couple rent a home in the countryside for a quiet romantic weekend to get away from the stress and work. But soon after they arrive, they begin to feel woozy and pass out, only to find themselves trapped inside a sealed and locked home when they awake. With an unknown voice guiding them through the intercoms, the couple are forced to take part in activities to strengthen their relationship. But if they stray from these instructions, a jolt of electricity is shot into them from an implant put in them while they were asleep. Held starts out decent enough. It maps out a mystery as the viewer, along with the couple, aren't made privy to what's going on. Through trial and error with the couple, we discover the size and scope of the dangers they face. I will say I was caught up with this plot up to this point, as the perils of this situation begin to sink in to this trapped couple under a microscope. One of the problems with Held, though, is that the leads, writer-actress Jill Awbrey and Bart Johnson, just don't seem to match up. They really lack chemistry, and it doesn't seem like this couple would realistically be together from looking at them. I'm trying to be kind here, but this is a film produced, written, and starring Jill Awbrey, and I feel the choice to make her the lead actress might have been a leap too far and sort of stinks like a vanity piece. Johnson is handsome and charming, like an older Ken doll, but Awbrey is the center of attention here and really doesn't exude that kind of charm and likability necessary for the viewer to take this journey with her. Much of her role feels like wish fulfillment, not unlike the stuff you normally see on the Lifetime channel, where the plain Jane mom gets the hunky chiseled guy. To get into the biggest issue I had with Held, I have to venture into the spoiler territory, so if you don't want key plot points ruined, just take my above criticism and move on. So be warned, there's spoilers ahead. In Held, it's revealed that the whole point of this imprisonment is an attempt to domesticize the wife, a program bought by the husbands to make their wives, who have become a little too independent, easier to control. This is a twist on the Stepford Wives and more recently Get Out, so it's not like this is a new concept in horror. The problem is the inciting action for Johnson's Henry character to have his wife, Awbrey's Emma, undergo this process is that she was sleeping with someone else. And while turning your wife into a zombie is a bit extreme of a punishment for infidelity, and two wrongs don't make a right, it really doesn't make Emma a sympathetic character at all. The final half hour of Held casts Emma as the hero, battling her way against a secret society of misogynists hired by her husband to domesticize her. The main problem here is that this entire predicament could have been avoided had Emma not cheated on her husband. This is an issue with the writing, as Emma is given no real reason to cheat. Her husband seems like a decent guy who loves her and finds her attractive. There's no point until the big character reversal when the cards are shown during the climax where we're given any indication that Henry is a bad guy. This was the film's chance to show the husband as an abuser or preoccupied with work or something. But as far as the info that we've been given, he's done nothing to drive her to betray their marriage. Yes, the reaction Henry has is extreme, but it definitely sullies the shining armor Emma brandishes at the end of this film as she heroically fights against all of those bad, bad men. It's as if this film was rushing to get to the point where Emma fights back, and it never does the real work to justify those actions. End spoilers. Wrong-headed writing mistakes aside, this is a good-looking film. I really like the decor of the home, which had a 70s retro style, matching the mentality of those behind the horrors. I also love the drone shots of the house, surrounded by an orchard of trees, which is at the same time beautiful and claustrophobic. It's just too bad Held bungled the landing by seeming too focused on telling a story of female empowerment without doing the character work to justify that in the story. The Slaughterhouse Killer is new on-demand and digital download from Breaking Glass Pictures. It's directed by Sam Curtin and written by Benjamin Clarke and Sam Curtin. Nathan, played by James Mason, is a young parolee assigned to work at a slaughterhouse and receive training from one of the best in the biz, Box, played by Craig Ingham. But Box isn't just an expert in killing and cleaning pigs and cows. He's also quite proficient in killing people. Seeing something special in Nathan, Box begins training Nathan in the art of serial killing. The Slaughterhouse Killer is a no-frills slasher that feels like it's a little too real. Everything from the behind-the-scenes tour Box gives Nathan of the slaughterhouse, the non-flashy way Box murders his victims, or the quiet scenes of Box's banal home life seems less produced and more like these scenes were simply captured in a documentary-style format. The film begins with a less-than-fabulous depiction of Box at home, waking up in his underwear, having a coffee, washing his pits in the sink, and then heading out to work. Everything is extremely unglamorous, and those used to a polished Hollywood film might be put off by the lack of sensationalism. Because we see Box in such an unsympathetic light with the camera zooming in uncomfortably close to the unappealing man-monster, it makes for an uncomfortable watch even before the bodies start falling. Box is just an unpleasant man, not unlike John Jarratt's Mick Taylor from the Wolf Creek franchise, with a laugh that sounds like the devil himself and an untamed demeanor that makes you never want to be alone with the guy. Ingham's Box is such a truly wretched and foul person that it's very unsettling to watch him make these killings and corrupting Nathan in the way that he does. We've seen the story of the Slaughterhouse Killer before in seasons of Dexter, Training Day, and any other film about a twisted mentor training an apprentice for what most definitely will lead to disaster. if it's intense horror you're looking for, the Slaughterhouse Killer, but the one it does tell is effectively scarring. Reminiscent of Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer, this one doesn't really glorify the killer or the act of killing, but sheds the bright light of day on truly despicable, disgusting acts. While it is successful in depicting the ugliness of death dealing, it is not for the casual horror fan. This one left a mark on me. It's not a fun watch, but Slaughterhouse Killer is effective in causing a true sense of unease. And isn't that what horror is supposed to do? Nevertheless, you've been warned about this one. Finally, we have Prey, aka Cordes, or Ropes. It's new streaming on Shudder, and it's directed by José Luis Montesinos and written by Yako, Blesa and José Luis Montesinos. After suffering a devastating car accident, angry teenager Elena, played by Paula Del Rio, is left the sole survivor, losing her mother and sister, as well as the ability to use her arms and legs. Bound to a wheelchair and only able to use one hand to move it, Elena attempts to cope with her new situation while harboring a deep anger towards her father Miguel, played by Miguel Angel Jenner, whose drunken driving was responsible for the accident. Miguel has purchased a new home in the countryside with modifications for Elena to open doors, windows, and go up and down the stairs. He's also bought her a service dog named Anthos to help her. Embittered by her entire situation, Elena treats both Miguel and Anthos like crap and chooses to mope, as teenagers are known to do. But after Anthos is bitten by a rabid bat, he begins to act very unhelpfully. At about the same time, Miguel suffers a massive heart attack in the front lawn, with Elena trapped inside the house and a rabid Anthos trying his damnedest to break in and eat her face off. Prey is a mix of Cujo and Monkey Shines, both of which are effective films in their own right, but combined together seems a few yards too many to qualify as believable. It's a film full of a few too many coincidences for the perfect storm of placing Elena alone in the house with the rabid dog outside. The film does communicate a decent sense of claustrophobia, as we, along with Elena, are trapped in the house with her and are up close and personal with her in the chair, fearful that the smarter-than-average dog will somehow work his way in sooner or later. Still, if Anthos was rabid, this is a debilitating disease, and while he's supposed to be smarter than your average dog, one would think that the further into this dementia the dog goes, the less of a threat he would be to Elena, as he would lose the ability to figure out how to get in. Instead, in Prey, it seems the dog gets smarter the worse he gets. But the biggest problem with Prey is that, as Elena, Paula Del Rio makes it awfully hard to feel sympathetic towards her. Sure, she's a handicapped person in peril, but she's quite an asshole towards her father, and especially towards Anthos the dog, before he is even rabid. Maybe it's because I had a German Shepherd as a kid and understand how loyal and sweet those dogs truly are, but seeing Elena treat that dog badly really didn't make me want to root for her to get out of this predicament. Sure, I understand this is a story where a selfish and angry person is given a giant challenge to overcome in order to deal with her issues of survivor's guilt, loss, and frustration, but having the central figure treat others in such a shitty way really undercuts the intent of the story. I will say that Del Rio plays a self-centered and cruel teen very well. It's just that maybe she does it a little too well. Prey is a well-made film. In order for the main problem to occur, you have to endure quite a lot of coincidences and contrivances. Still, there's some tension-filled moments where the dog is breaking into and out of the house, and where Elena narrowly escapes his foaming jaws of death. It's no Cujo, and it's no Monkey Shines, but it borrows some of the best parts from both of them, and mixes them decently. If you look past the bratty kid, Prey definitely has some scenes that'll keep your nails bitten and your spines tingled. That'll be it for today. Please chime in down below in the comments and let me know how on the nose or mind-numbingly wrong I am, or you can counter with your own review. So guys, you know how YouTube works. I'd love to be able to dedicate more time to this channel. I'm not monetized yet, so if you want to help me out, remember to hit all the pertinent bells and whistles down below. Want some spooky comics to read? I have 2 new horror comic book trade paperbacks you should look out for. Both GRAVETRANCERS and PIROUETTE, collecting never-before-published issues, can be found in only the finest of comic book shops. If you're looking for written reviews, you can find them on my website, mlmillerwrites.com. If you really want to show your support, I also have a Patreon page at ML Miller. Look for the link to my Patreon page down below. Thank you so much for your time, and take care.
You're doomed to live the life you're meant to be, stuck inside your